Good afternoon. I'm Carl Lindner, and would like to welcome you to our offices today for what's a really exciting announcement. We're one step closer to seeing a dream of professional soccer come true here in Cincinnati with our announcement of our first players. We've been overwhelmed by the community's acceptance and support of FC Cincinnati so far, and we just believe it's really the start of a great partnership between the fans in our area and our soccer team. We're excited to have this first group of players join us, and we're looking forward to an awesome season. Allow me to introduce our GM and President, Jeff Birding.
Thank you, Carl. You know, a few moments ago while we were waiting, I saw a little note on the wall in the boardroom here, and on the wall was a quote that Carl's father, Carl Lindner Jr., liked to recite. It was from Henry Ford, who once said, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." And that seems so appropriate for what we're about here today. This is a very exciting day for FC Cincinnati. You know, the process of building a team from scratch is not an easy one, and it takes a great deal of preparation and hard work. Our roster building effort began over the summer when we signed John Harkes to be our head coach and director of soccer. We trusted that John, with his extensive soccer network around the world, would be able, with the support of our assistant coach Ryan Martin, be able to identify and recruit excellent players for FC Cincinnati. While I'm pleased to say today, mission accomplished. Since August, John and Ryan have been traveling around the country and even to Europe to scout players to identify good fits for our team. And because we know there is great homegrown talent here, FC Cincinnati held open tryouts last month for over 100 local players who were joined by a dozen or so players who traveled in from around the world to audition for our coaches. And we're thrilled to have a homegrown talent, Austin Berry, as our first player to introduce today. I told the players when we met last night that these players are special because they're our first. As our first class of players, they will always hold a special place in this franchise and with our fans. For example, nearly every Bengals fan knows that Bob Johnson was the first Bengal. And nearly every Reds fan knows that Chuck Harmon was the first African American to play for the Cincinnati Reds. Fans know the first. These players, led by Austin, they're our first. And that is a very exciting thing. Cincinnati has long been a strong soccer community, but we've never had a top-level pro team of our own until now, and that is represented by our players here. There will be more players to come, but here are the leaders of our team, leaders that John and Ryan, that we've chosen to be our first class. So we're excited to introduce them to you and to take this special franchise to the next step as a team playing in the strong United Soccer League. We believe that our fans will enjoy watching these players and their teammates take the field in a few short months. And for a chance to watch the team on the pitch this season, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that season tickets are for sale. They're available at fccincinnati.com. Season tickets would represent a very exciting Christmas gift or a holiday gift for those soccer fans in your life. And fans will have the opportunity to meet the players tonight at the pub in Rookwood at 9 p.m. And I want to encourage all of you, our fans, to turn out and welcome our players to our great city of Cincinnati. Today's 11 players represent the first wave of signings, and we will have additional announcements of more players to come in late December or early January. And now to introduce our players, we have FC Cincinnati head coach John Harkes. After all the players are introduced, we will conduct a Q&A session. You're all right. Where you'll be able to ask John and the players questions. With that, John Harkes.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Carl, for inviting us to kind of like a second home, I guess, here. Very nice building. I really appreciate it. Very, very excited to be here today. As Jeff had said earlier, and Carl as well, part of the process of building a club from the foundation up, brick and mortar, is very important in terms of the characteristic traits that you put into it. And I'm very, very excited and a little bit tired, but of putting the work together to find these very special group of guys. And when you look at, the first conversations that took place, and, we always talk to the media, we have all these questions about soccer, is it going to happen here in SC Cincinnati? And I see the Cincinnati fan base and the supporters that are here. The groups of people that are supporting the game for us, it's a no-brainer. I see that they deserve, a good group of players to represent their club at the best. And when you think about the good characteristic traits that we have in these players right here before you, I couldn't be happier. Ryan Martin and I, we were speaking about this earlier before we came over, and we were talking about, what kind of players do we want to wear the jersey, to wear the crest on their heart. Humble, hungry, soccer intelligent, good characteristics on and off the field, skill set, imagination, creativity, good leadership. All of that's right here today. So I'm very, very excited. And really, the hard work that we've put in, we know that these guys are going to be the ones that put the hard work in themselves, to represent the club to the best and the highest level that we can in Cincinnati. So I'm very, very excited about that. Without further ado, with your blessings, I'd like to introduce the first player of many. Is that all right, Dave? You're okay? All right. Many of you guys know this, and unfortunately, maybe even through Austin was talking to me about this, maybe even a radio station broke it. I don't know if it was his grandmother that let it out, but a lot of conversations that Austin and I have had over a number of months now, and really good connection with Austin. It's been fantastic with all the players as well, and just really excited to bring a guy who provides the leadership, a great center back, has the MLS experience, and a guy that comes into us from being a Rookie of the Year in Chicago Fire in 2012 and joined the Philadelphia Union, has been in Korea, has an international experience as well, and we're able to bring him back home to Cincinnati to have a fresh start and a great landscape here. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Austin Berry. Next player for us is a player that was drafted as well by the Chicago Fire in 2010. He also was a player that played with Philadelphia Union and the Wilmington Hammerheads. Came from Wake Forest University, which Ryan knows very well. Shared that experience of winning a title in 2007. Great creative player, great talent on the ball. Technical, bring excitement to the game. We're happy to have him, and we're glad that it made it work. Turns out it wasn't an easy process, but we're glad that we have him here. Corbin Bone. Salvation. Yeah. By the way, and I know, Jeff, you're going to speak afterwards, but each of the guys will be available, right, for Q&A, just so you guys all know. Next guy that we are very happy to be excited about is a goalkeeper from Minnesota United FC in the NESL, 4 years there, great experience as well. Goalkeeper that provides, you'd always look for somebody who's going to be a solid rock for you and have a foundation from the back. Great reactions, great leadership as well. A player that we didn't think was going to be available, but we're very happy he is. And he also shaved his beard off to be here today. So without further ado, Mitch Hildebrand, please. about that. How do we present that? We have whispers up here. Shh, it's like a whisper. Next player, we talk about when you build a team, some of the characteristic traits. We just mentioned a lot of them, but very fortunate to have a guy that actually comes to us just recently, winning a championship. And the next player we'd like to bring on board was a player that was at University of Illinois at Chicago back in 2005 and 2008, but more recently, as he went professional in 2013, had some international experience in Sweden, played with the Rochester Rhinos in the USL, and just won the championship. So it's nice to have a winner on board, and also a great character and a great guy that, throughout the process of recruiting and conversations, I'm very excited to bring into FC Cincinnati. Please put your hands together. Pat McMahon. No glasses today?
No, no glasses.
Why? What's up?
Congratulations. Thank you.
I know when Lindsay takes the last photo, we're good, right? That's the last one. That's a cue. We've had some domestic guys, and we've had some players that have been playing in this country, and then you also like to have a little bit of international flavor as well, and been very fortunate to get this next player on board. And Francisco represented Panama at all the youth levels with the national team process and also the senior level as of late. Played a year at JMU as well, and very, very fortunate to have him join us and fly all the way from Panama. So please welcome Francisco Narbon. Bienvenido, mi amigo.
Congratulations.
And just full disclosure before I get to the next row is all jersey numbers are not set in stone. That's a whole nother headache discussion that we have. We'll sit down individually. They'll hammer out the coaches just to make sure we're fighting for numbers. Talk about experienced guys and always having a different landscape is good, but to have players that come in, this next player here from England, international experience, but also playing in the USL, a veteran player of the league, playing with the Wilmington Hammerheads, and very excited to have him come on board, Paul Nicholson. Another player, guys, that we look at who has, as a younger guy, actually competed at Creighton University, decided to take his chances and move on to the professional game at an early age, and certainly had tremendous experience playing in Major League Soccer with New England Revolution and also with the Rochester Rhinos for a short period of time. Come to us from a club that Mitch Hildebrandt was very familiar with in Minnesota United, Tyler Polak. Another local guy that was from Columbus, Ohio, that was drafted by the New York Red Bulls in Major League Soccer. Very fortunate to, not only play soccer here at University of Akron and win a championship back in 2010, but also come into a team, FC Cincinnati, with a great deal of experience for a young player, Eric Stevenson. He's also in competition for great hair. And by the way, throughout the process here, guys, and just so you know, too, you're going to have one-on-ones with these players as much as we can today. And I just want to get through this so they don't fall asleep here. I know one of them is really, really happy that I can do quickly here. We'll get to Kenny in a minute. But next player, another midfielder, characteristic traits, great mentality, again, in leadership, somebody that drives the game. And I've always been an admirer of his from his days at Wake Forest, and seeing him at the Wilmington Hammerheads and doing a great job there and playing. Another midfielder they're really happy to have on board here is Ross Tomaselli. Ross. Next player field and has tremendous galaxy in the surrounding area that he's very Walker. The NASL Championship Final up in New York, and he certainly is joining our team as a contract, and that's all due to his, the issue being is at the ITC approval, which will come through soon. So once we get that through, he will be part of SC Cincinnati for sure moving forward. Is that good? All right, Jeff, you want to bring it back up?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to do the Q&A, but before we do, I want to make a couple quick acknowledgments. Takes a team to do all of the work, and I just want to point out Ryan Martin. Where are you, Ryan? Oh, there you are. There's Ryan. I want to acknowledge my wife, Lindsay, who's here in the front row. I want to thank all the Great American staff who helped us produce this wonderful event today. Thank you. Our FC Cincinnati team, a lot of our staff are here, you can tell by the ties. And I also want to thank and acknowledge all of our ownership. We have a number of our partners here, David Thompson, George Joseph, Scott.
Come on, Dad. Yeah. Just
Came about, his thanks to coach as well, Ryan Martin.
From the wow.
These players, of what the very well from it's a long is and understand where we want to be. The biggest thing so far, Ryan. Please check when you get your.
but this is an elite group by definition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have these guys here. They're here for a reason. They're here to compete because they want to win. It's a special group actually, and it's an exciting day when you build a team like this and you build a club and to be part of the first wave. And there's many good players that are going to come on board in the second and third waves as well as we announce those. But I think it's a good process. It's an excellent start right now with the group that we have today. It's a very special day, very special group of players.
What's the contractual process? I mean, obviously, I don't think there are agents involved, but is there a standardized procedure within the league?
Yeah, it's basically. You mean in terms of how the contracts are done, or?
Player compensation, when you say they're signed, is it already just a foregone conclusion? There's a salary structure in place?
That's based on how we negotiate with players, and it's based on club to club. That's that landscape. Are you looking to see what the salaries are? Or are we? I don't have a lot of money in here, but you can have my money.
Everybody signed and negotiated.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, they are.
Just for the players, what made you want to sign with a startup?
Yeah, please stand.
Okay. I'm gonna go up to the podium. Well, for me, it's easy. This being my hometown. I'm my family here, parents and grandparents. I've always loved Cincinnati growing up, playing soccer here. going to Chicago, going to Philadelphia, or going to Korea. I've always wanted and thought about coming back to Cincinnati, and now I get to come back here and get to play soccer and help grow it in my hometown. So, there's nothing bigger for me, in a decision to come back in something like this and to be at the beginning of it for something that both the coaches and the ownership staff have shared their vision with me, and it was important for me to be at the beginning of that. So, those are two of the biggest things for me in my decision to come back here.
The peer pressure is high over here. No, for me, I guess it's about chasing the dream still, and to be about something new and something special. With a great group of coaches and players that I've played against and played with, it was a no-brainer for me, and to be a part of a true clean slate and a new beginning, and to be a part of a first class that's going to go down in history. So it's exciting, and we're all ready to get started, and I'm just grateful to be a part of that in this whole process, because it's a long one, and this is just beginning, and then the real work starts on the field. So thanks.
That's fantastic.
Anyone else?
Kenny?
Is there a mic? Do we have the mic? He just wants to sing.
Going along the lines what these guys said and the owners and all that stuff, it's just, for me, it was coming back closer to home. Being out in LA is a little bit far for that extended period of time, and then looking forward into the future. Something that is starting now, it's great and everything, but if you look forward what potential this has in the future, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, if it goes the way everything's planned, you wouldn't want to miss this and pass it up. So, from my standpoint, and these guys, probably most of them, it's not just looking at it now, it's the future and all that. So I'm excited. Everybody's excited. Talking with everybody here, it's going to be fun. So I just need a little bit more sleep.
Anybody else?
Anyone else,
Guys,
guys?
feel free to talk.
Yeah, if you want to say something. Paul says no. All right. We have a question right here.
You guys have mentioned getting these guys acclimated. Are they all here who've been?
Sure. So we have housing for the players that begins, I think, the first week in January. So we'll get through the holidays. I'm sure they're anxious to get home and see their families for the holidays, like all of us. And then the process of moving here will take place right at the beginning of January, and we'll have an off-season program that begins in January, and then the formal preseason will begin February the 1st. And at that point, they'll be in their housing and ready to go. We certainly are going to have some community initiatives. We have our pub partners, so I know that our fans are anxious to see the guys around town, and that's just around the corner. And obviously tonight at the pub in Rookwood.
Can you just clarify if any of these guys were from the open tryout, and if not, when might we hear who comes from that?
You want to say, or I can do it? None of these guys are from the open tryout. We are in the process of contacting a number of guys who did very well, performed well at the open tryout, and we're going to bring them in for an extended tryout where they're literally training with these guys and others as we sign them in January.
I had a question for either you or John. How many players would you guys expect to sign before February 1st, I guess? And is it possible that some of these guys, several mentioned having MLS experience, is it possible you could lose some before the season to the MLS?
No.
I don't know how that
No. So all of the guys, it's a more arduous process than in the NFL. So we have the contracts. It is a standard contract that the United Soccer League uses. Obviously, you fill in the particular information for each guy based on what we've agreed to. But it's a standard contract, but that's just the start of it, because then once you do that, you have to get the contract approved through the USL. It has to get approved if anyone has ties to another league like the NSL or MLS, to the other league. all the contracts here. We had to have all, and it was a little bit. February 1st. Thing is to know that. When did you hire your goalkeeper coach? That. Free agents. And available to sign except for Corbin. Corbin Bone, we paid a transfer fee in order to acquire his rights, which will always make him special for me because it was my first transfer fee. Took a picture of the transfer agreement and texted it to my kids. Hey, I just did my first transfer.
Can you say how much that was?
I don't want to get into that. Thanks.
We can.
Do you want to add anything to that, just in terms of the process?
No, I mean, look, I think, as the challenges that come are certainly when you identify certain players, whether or not they're free or they're on loan. I mean, that's all part of the process. We understand that. Making it work, it has to be, a situation that, works for both, for the player. I want to give the player first that type of feeling when they come to FC Cincinnati. And so, those guys, when we looked at them, they became available, or we made them available in certain ways, as Jeff said, through the transaction that took place, for Corbin. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole thought process that goes into it and how you acquire a player and when. And so some of them you have to wait a little bit longer than others, and some you don't.
The season will begin in the last weekend of March, would be like Easter weekend. We anticipate the schedule will be released in early January. We expect that we will start on the road. We have some projects that we're working on up at Nippert Stadium, and it gives us a little bit more time. As an example, we're redoing one of the visiting team locker room. So we're going to buy ourselves some time, and we expect that our first home game will be in early April. We are going to train primarily at Nippert. We're also in the process of securing a grass field site to have the opportunity to train on grass. We will have access to the UC bubble to train indoors during winter. And we also have a partnership with Wall to Wall up in Mason, and so our indoor facilities will be shared between Wall to Wall and UC. Thanks for asking. Anything else? Jackie can help the media. We do have some rooms set up in the back for one-on-one.
Could I suggest that we get a team photo?
Yes.
Of the guys?
Yeah, if we can get a.
Is that okay?
That's right, Corbin. So we're gonna get all the players up here in a row. Yeah, with jerseys and scarves, guys. All right, so hey guys, if we can do maybe the first five on the one side, and I don't care which five on the one side, five on the other. Why don't we step forward a little bit? This move? We're gonna have to get in front of them. Yeah, come on. I think it's taped up. Yeah. You want to step up, guys?
All right, we need like a back row and a front row, and you guys need to give some space. Scooch in, scooch in. I'm gonna get you guys.
Get in there, bro. Get in.
Back row.
Shiny down. Pops out. I need to be in the back. They were like,
Yeah. We just need the guys in back row to get a spot. Make sure
Yeah.
you're between somebody. Otherwise, we can't see the
Jackie? Yes. Do you want us to put chairs down there for certain players?
I think it would better if we got the first row and sit down.
That way they can
Yep.
time for that. He's a handful. He's just like crawling. Starting to motor around. I used to think it was probably just like just kind of laying down on the ground and go into it. Just run away. I'll fill that in.
Good? Good. 3, 2, 1.